Good morning and welcome. It is Coffee and Sports. It is the morning show powered by Wire to Wire Network. Thank you so much for making us part of your morning routine. Whether you're live on Facebook right now, maybe you're live over on YouTube, maybe you're live watching us on Roku TV, thanks to the fine people at Northeast Sports Productions. The point is, we're happy that you're here. I am Chris, and of course, that over there, that is Mo. Mo, how are you on a Monday morning, sir?
I'm doing great. Feel good Monday, ready to go, ready to start another great sports week, talking with my partner, talking about sports.
Mo, we have so much to get to this morning. We got JG in the house.
Love it.
He's going to be on a little later to discuss some Major League Baseball things. But Mo, before we get into this week of sports, let me ask you a question here. Have you ever seen the show Traitors?
I've heard about it, but I've never seen it.
You need to welcome it into your. It's nonsense. It's garbage. It's trash reality TV, Mo. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not gonna tell you it's anything else. But I'll tell you right now, if you find yourself with like, I got nothing to do, and I know you live a busy life, but if you're like, I got some downtime, I want that to sink back into your mind. My partner said to go and watch some Traitors. Because I think you'll value it. I think you'll appreciate it.
So it's trashy TV, but it's kind of addictive, huh?
It is. I mean, it's Scottish accents. It's creepy castles. Come on now. What more do you want?
Well, I'm there for the accents.
And it's a bunch of C-list celebrities who think they're more than they are, and I love that. You know,
Right?
Is that not sports? Sometimes. I mean, come
Yeah.
on. Look at Cam Newton.
It's entertaining. I'm with you on that. I think I'm gonna sign up. I've got to check it out. I'm one of those people that you know how there's certain parts of the day or the evening when you feel yourself being weary or tired, and then right before you get tired, you get this second burst of wind, and then you're up late.
That's when Traitors comes in.
Yeah. I'm that guy, so I definitely need to look up Traitors.
Gene knows about Traitors. He's talking about it. That's what I'm saying. Speaking of Cam Newton made the news this weekend, Mo, getting into fights at 7-on-7 football tournaments. But more importantly, Cam Newton also made the news because he has said that he will only play quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons. He is situated with his current family situation, and as a result of that, the Atlanta Falcons is where his desire is. He has no interest in playing outside of Atlanta. So, Mo, if the Falcons are looking, Cam Newton is willing, and that's the only team on his list. So, yeah, do with that what you will.
So he's putting it out there that should the Falcons come calling, he's going to answer.
And that is the only team he will answer for. I'm sorry to the rest of the league, but he doesn't want you.
The interesting part, obviously, is what's the likelihood that the Falcons are going to come calling? Not likely, but
is he better than what they have right now? So Tyler Heineke, I can't even think of the other quarterback off the top of my head. Ritter. So between Heineke and Ritter, is Cam Newton today better than either of those quarterbacks?
So the last time I saw Cam Newton, he kind of looked like Ritter. So what do you need old Ritter for if you got young Ritter?
Fair. Mo, we talked last week that the son of Tiger Woods, Charlie Woods, was going to attempt to qualify for a PGA event. The way it works in golf is you have a pre-qualifier. So there's a series of pre-qualifiers. And if you place top whatever in the pre-qualifiers, you then move to the actual qualifier. And depending on how you do in the actual qualifier, that determines whether or not you make it to the actual PGA event. Charlie Woods did not play well in the pre-qualifier, so he did not make it out of that round. But Mo, it was interesting because after he didn't play well in the pre-qualifier, the golf social media world was abuzz, taking shots at young Charlie Woods, obviously comparing him to his dad, obviously saying that he isn't as great as his dad, and he's never going to be as great as his dad. So Mo, I wanted to start there this morning because I have a couple of issues with that. First of all, Yeah, he's not going to be as great as his dad was. His dad is literally a golf prodigy. His dad was on talk shows at the age of 5 or 6, sinking 30-foot putts. Like, literally, his dad is the greatest golfer to ever golf. I don't care if he doesn't have as many, titles or whatever it is as Jack Nicklaus. When Tiger Woods was dominating the world of golf, he was the greatest golfer in the world, hands down. You showed up to finish second when Tiger had his 3 or 4 year dominant stretch. I would argue I would take Tiger Woods' 3 or 4 year dominant stretch in golf and put it up against any other athlete in any other sport over a 3 or 4 year period. And I think Tiger wins almost all of those debates as far as the most dominant individual athlete in a sport over a 3 or 4 year stretch. So, Mo, of course, Charlie Woods is not going to be his dad. That's my first thing. My second thing, Mo, is why are we picking on a 15-year-old kid?
Right.
He's
Right.
15 years old. That makes him like a 10th grader. Like,
9th or 10th.
that's what we're doing. That's what we're going to do right now. We're going to go pick on the high school kid who, by the way, he wasn't talking smack on social media going into the event. He wasn't making all these big claims and then he didn't deliver, which, by the way, would be kind of normal for a 15-year-old to do, but he wasn't doing that. So I have a big issue with people in the golf community coming for Charlie Woods because he didn't do well in a. I don't know if there's.
I don't get it.
Golf enough to know if there's nothing else exciting going on in golf, and that's what we need to focus on. But we need to do better than coming after the 15-year-old for one, not being his prodigy father, and for two, not qualifying for a PGA event at 15.
And don't we do that though? When someone has a great father, they're second generation or third generation talent, they don't measure them against the field or their peers. They measure them against their fathers, and that's not fair. He's 15 years old, and he's trying to break into a sport that his father excelled at, but I don't hold him to the standard of his father. I think Charlie Woods is going to have whatever career he's going to have. And he's young enough, Chris, that he may very well not be playing golf by the time he's 17 or 18 because he has taken another career path. That's how young he is. Golf might be an experiment for this young man, but I think that you hit on something. Look, let's be honest. Golf, unless you're really, really into golf, it's not the most exciting sport from a distance if you're a fan on the outside, right? You don't look at golf and go, man, let me go see who's on the 17th hole or something like that. It doesn't pull you in like that unless you're really into the sport. And there isn't really anything exciting going on worldwide in golf. So yeah, tear down the 15-year-old who's Tiger Woods' son. And I really think sometimes people take digs at his son to take digs at Tiger. You brought up the fact that he completely dominated his sport for about a 4 or 5 year window on a level where you're right. I don't know any individual athlete 4 year run that would be better than Tiger Woods' 4 year run. I'm a casual golf fan at best, Chris, and I would go watch Tiger Woods play golf. Think about all the times where he was behind and you're going into the final round. He made a habit of walking people down and winning in the final round. That takes poise, that takes talent, that takes precision. He was a monster. So I think to try to compare his child, a young man, to somebody that's almost godlike in his sport is beyond unfair. It is. And it's crazy that you would even go there if you're a journalist or anybody of that ilk that follows golf in that way. He's 15, man. That's crazy. Like if he were 19, I would still say give the guy time to hone his craft. But he's 15 years old. Charlie Woods may very well turn around and become a basketball player for all as you know. That's how young he is. So to attack him in that way, and like you said, it's not like he's going around talking smack like, I'm Tiger's son, so guess what? Think about second place, everybody else. He's not doing that, and you're attacking him like he did, like he's stepping into it with this arrogance or this privilege, and it's just wrong. period.
Mo, I can probably count on two hands the number of times in my life I've watched golf, and every one of those was a Sunday and had to do with Tiger Woods. I have never watched golf in relation to anybody else. Uh, Later on in Tiger's career, when he was making his comeback, I might have watched on a Friday to see how he did in opening round, but it was always Tiger Woods related. And I'll tell you right now, the only thing that's going to get me back to watching a golf screen is going to be if Charlie Woods makes his first PGA event. I will watch that.
I will watch that.
So that is me, and I'm not even a casual golf fan, but I am someone that was pulled in by Tiger, and I will be pulled in by Charlie, and the sport needs it. The sport needs, because your avid golf fans will always be there, right? The guys who love to golf, the guys who have a favorite golfer, those are the ones you're not going to struggle to pull in. The question is with sports like golf and tennis and NASCAR, how do you pull in the fan that knows you exist, but really has no interest in tuning you on a Saturday or a Sunday or whatever the case might be? And it's situations like this that are going to pull in those fans. Look at golf's ratings. They were through the roof when Tiger was being Tiger.
Yeah.
Look at him when Tiger's not around. It's a vast, vast difference. So, and we're not going to turn this into a golf hour this morning, but, I'm just saying that for the world of golf, Charlie Woods could greatly benefit and impact the sports. So we should probably stop making fun of the 15-year-old.
Agreed.
We got JG on this morning.
JG.
We're going to do a little Major League Baseball talk. Spring training is underway. The Yankees put up 22 runs in their first spring training game. I'm just saying.
You're feeling good?
Things are looking like they're supposed to look. I mean, Soto is hitting home runs. We got, prospect outfielders hitting home runs. His name escapes me right now, but he looks like Aaron Judge, and he hits home runs as long as Aaron Judge does. So I'm feeling good about these situations. So
I hear it in your voice.
I know. I'm just saying. So we got to get JG on this morning. I'm gonna do it, Mo. I'm gonna press the JG button, and when I do that, JG type things happen. There it is. Welcome JG to the show this morning. JG, how are you this morning, sir?
Doing good, guys. Doing good. How are y'all this morning?
Hey, morning, JG.
No complaints on our end, JG. Let's start with this. Someone signed. One of the Boris Four has signed a contract, and that is Cody Bellinger. Cody is going 3 years. He's going $80 million with the Chicago Cubs. So what do you make of A, him returning to Chicago, and B, what do you make of the money?
Yeah, I thought Chicago was the team that was going to be the eventual place for Cody. And I know there's been flirting with the Blue Jays, and there's been flirting with other teams here and there. But you don't do what you did if you're Cody Bellinger. Like, you don't leave where you finally found comfort after 2 really bad years in LA, and you were kind of like flirting with how much longer were you going to see Cody Bellinger in the league potentially. And then you go to Chicago, you get comfortable, and you have a comeback type of season. You don't leave that place. So I always thought Chicago was the home for Bellinger when it was all said, even though there was some flirtations with the Blue Jays, Yankees at one point as well. There's and other opportunities there. The money wise, I think I said long-term deals are not going to happen at this point of the year. I mean, a 3-year deal it's a decent amount of years, but it's not a 5 or 6 year deal, or even we see some guys get 10-year deals in their free agency. It's not that, and that's kind of what we're seeing. I offered to say, hey, it could be a 1-year deal, but I did say at times we could see Bellinger and Snell at some point sign 2 or 3 year deals at a little bit of around the average money they were wanting, but it's not a full commitment by the team. That the long-term side of it, but it is a little bit more financial stability for the player, that he's getting a couple more years out of the 1-year deal that they were potentially going to get. And I think it makes sense for both sides. I think the Cubs get something that they get a mainstay piece that they need in their lineup to elevate themselves in a wide open NL Central right now. And that is a true statement, because we don't know what the Cardinals are going to be, or are we going to see the St. Louis Cardinals of dominant, NL Central team, or are we going to see the dumpster fire that was in 2023 with that team? this is a very open division. And I think the Cubs getting Bellinger back in the fold puts them in a position to be a favorite in this division, because I think the Brewers, being a team that was won this division the last couple of years, they've had some changes undergoing as well. So this is very open. And I think with Bellinger in the fold, it does push the Cubs right up there to be considered a favorite in this division, along with the Cincinnati Reds. And I know you still, I just bashed them. You can't count out the Brewers just yet, but it's very open, and this makes it more interesting.
So they've been coined the Boras 4. That is the 4 Scott Boras clients that apparently we didn't think were ever going to sign. Now it's down to the Boras 3. JG, which of the 3 do you think is going to sign next? If you had to put money on it.
I know the conversation. I've listened to a lot of the national media recently, and there's so much negative talk about why Blake Snell has not signed and what's the purpose of that. I do think he'll be the next one. I think at some point this is the domino, the Bellinger domino that kind of hits Snell and go, look, you're not getting the years you're wanting, but you can get a 3-year deal. At some point, you have to swallow your pride. And again, like I said to you guys, I hate. It makes my skin crawl saying that, but as a player, you have to swallow your pride at this point. If you want to be in camp and get ready for the season, especially if you're a pitcher, you have to go and get in camp. You have to go to see batters, and you have to compete, because otherwise we're going to see Blake Snell and be in AAA, kind of do an extended version of spring training. If he misses it enough time, he won't see them at the beginning of the year. So I think Snell is the next one to sign, followed by Jordan Montgomery. And I know there's been some flirtations right now with Montgomery, and the Red Sox has been kind of extending right now outside of Texas Rangers for them. But I think for Snell, it's so important for Blake to get into camp. He has to do something. He has to make the decision now. It's a matter of just saying, look, get me close to my number annually that I want. I will sign a 3-year deal, and we can move on from there, whether it's the Yankees or another team out there. I think that's going to be what he has to do, and I think he will be the next one.
So, JG, the Yankees have come out through the rumor mill, and they have put a lot of report to be out there, because let's be honest, this is what teams do. They allow things to be out there. They have a lot of report to be out there that they are more interested in Dylan Cease and trading for Cease than they are interested in signing Blake Snell. Now, on the surface, that seems kind of ridiculous. You can just sign Snell for money. You don't have to lose anything in the process. Obviously, Chicago hasn't traded Cease yet because they want a king's ransom for him. And you would have to imagine that price isn't going to go anywhere, especially as we get closer to the trade deadline this season. Is that just the Yankees trying to push Snell in the right direction and speed up this process by making it look like, oh, we don't want you anymore kind of deal? Or is this the Yankees saying, listen, Cease is 27, 28 years old. Snell is 31 years old. We want someone in their 27, 28 range as opposed to their 31, 32 range. Maybe they actually prefer Cease over Snell. Where do you think this lies with this report coming out on the after Bellinger signs, on the heels of, people saying Snell might lower his number a little bit? Why is this report coming out now?
Well, I'll go a step further, in knowing how the ownership of the Yankees has been over the last few years, last decade, and you kind of know this as well, Chris. There is some penny pinching in the ownership of the Yankees. So you look at it and say, do I want to sign Blake Snell to a 22 to 25 million annually deal, or do I trade Cease, which Yankees have never valued prospects anyway. True. They never looked at it. They've never valued them. So I can trade a few prospects that I don't really care about. Go get Dylan Cease and pay $8 million for Cease in 2024. He's arbitration eligible again in 2025. So I'll have another year of him under control in next year in 2025. And then he hits free agency in 2026 when he's 30 years old. And that arbitration in 2025. So it's $8 million this year. You could probably say it's close to 12 to 15 million next year in 2025. If he pitches like he's supposed to, and we know he's capable of, it could be 15 million max of what we see in his arbitration at that point. Or you pay him another probably $10 million if he has a struggle season at there. So pay 25 million for Blake Snell, or pay $8 million in 2024 for Dylan Cease. That's the conversation that they're looking at and saying, at that point, because here's the other stuff. Why did they not? Correct me if I'm wrong. The rumors were going out there saying they weren't really. They didn't go after Yamamoto as much because they would have to pay him more than Garrett Cole annually. I mean, you're going to have to. You may not get to that number getting close to Garrett Cole, but you're going to be making it very close. And apparently, that's very important to the Yankees and to Garrett Cole that he's the highest paid player on the team as far as pitching wise. So, you got to make sure your number one guy is happy. So you can go get Cease for $8 million and trade prospects that you don't really care about, or you go pay $25 million for the next $25 million per season potentially for Blake Snell. And again, it makes sense because Cease is younger. I don't like it because if you're trying to turn yourself into a contender, Blake Snell is that kind of pitcher for you. We have not seen Dylan Cease. Dylan Cease did not pitch well in 2023. So are you going to get the Dylan Cease that was second in Cy Young in 2022? Or are you going to get a Dylan Cease whose ERA was way above 4? That's a big question mark for the Yankees. They have to decide on that side of it.
Shohei Ohtani is reported to be making his spring training debut on Tuesday versus the White Sox. JG, I feel like it was only a few months ago we were talking about Shohei and all the time that he was going to miss this season. And yeah, he's going to make a buttload of money, but he's going to miss X amount of time. So that this season could potentially be a wash. And then, next season is when the impact really going to kick in. He's playing spring training. Like, what is your take on Shohei here and his ability to, looks like not to really miss any time? Obviously, the pitching side of it isn't going to be there right away, but he's playing in spring training.
There's not enough words to describe just the amazingness that a Shohei is right now. I mean, he had Tommy John in August.
Yeah,
it was around August. He injured his elbow and went under the knife. Probably end of August. He missed the last month, I believe, or something like that. And here we are. So what, September, October, November, December, January, end of February right now. That's 6 months. March around the corner. I mean, is there any adjectives to use about this guy? Is there any more that we're surprised? Like, are we surprised as well? That's the next question. Are we surprised about him? I can't really explain it. We're seeing things, and I'll say this: it's becoming more and more amazing to watch how the medical science has really improved, and it really improved on the recovery time frame of these athletes, because we're seeing, again, 6 months before Ohtani's ready to see live pitching in a game. We talked about Aaron Rodgers, who was at times who was running and throwing footballs 5 months post Achilles. It's amazing where we're at in the medical recovery after such serious injuries. And Tommy John, for about 25, 30 years ago, Tommy John was a career ender, just like an Achilles injury was a career ender. And here we are seeing a guy who had it, and now 6 months later is swinging a bat against 95 to 100 miles an hour pitches. I don't know what to expect out of Shohei today. I don't really know or not today, tomorrow, when he faces his first game. Is he going to have a good, how competitive? I don't care about results. I don't care if he goes 2 for 2 or 0 for 2. Does he put competitive at bats? Does he swing the bat with good velocity? That's what I want to see. And there's the question mark is we get to see Shohei focus on hitting 100% of the time. How good is he going to be because of that? How good is he going to be? That's a question that I think we're going to be really intrigued on. Are we going to see 350 average with 40 home runs and 120 RBIs? I mean, that's potentially what he could be. If he, if that elbow's healthy enough to really take off this season, that could be a legit stat line that we see in 350. And I'm kind of pushing it at the very peak of that. But I mean, a 330 average, 335 average, we could see Shohei probably even get close to the batting title in the average, along with a 40 home run season, 120 RBIs, if that's the case. So I'm running out of adjectives to really describe Shohei Ohtani right now, because what he does every day is amazing.
JG, let's say he hits 330, 52 home runs, 120 RBIs. He swipes 30 bags. He plays a little bit of defense, but he DHs mostly. Is there ever a thought, if he puts up a season like that where he's not pitching, to just not have him pitch?
No, because you did invest $700 million. And I know it's not fully. I mean, you're essentially paying $60 million over the next 10 years of his playing days. So, but in the end of the day, you did invest that amount of money on a two-way guy, not a position player, not just a pitcher, a guy who can do both. So the plans are, and you can say, well, hey, if the Dodgers, we're going to see what the Dodgers look like without Ohtani as a pitcher, and if they do really well with Yamamoto and Glass now, Buehler back. Do you really need Ohtani at that point? Well, you don't need him, but you invested in him to be that for you. You invested in him to be a two-way guy. So, no, the plan, I'm sure, will still be Ohtani pitching in 2025 and beyond at that point. Even if so, because, again, you put the investment in what he is, a great pitcher and a great hitter. And I think that has to continue to be the plan, because it doesn't make any sense investing as much money as you did to make him only a one-way guy.
JG, before you get out of here, what was your biggest takeaway from the opening of spring training this weekend? You can bring it any direction you want, sir.
The biggest takeaway is that baseball's back, and this is the happiest time. At least right now, it tells us that spring is in the air. We are rounding. And I know some of you, being around in the northern part. I know we have a lot of people in the northern part of the country, but baseball is a signal that springtime is here. This is one of my favorite times of the year, where we get to kind of see a little bit more of these younger guys that are out there coming in, that are in the minor leagues, getting the opportunities to play and compete against big leaguers. We hear a lot about, these young prospects that are getting their first opportunities to compete at that level. But at the same time, there's nothing better in my eyes, closing my eyes and listening to the sound of a ball hitting a wooden bat, the sound of cleats on fresh cut grass and freshly dragged dirt. It's springtime's in the air. So nothing really as far as just what the games are. I don't really, the first week, besides just watching prospects, that's what I care about in that aspect. I'm not really taking into account Bryce Harper, if he goes, in his first 2 spring training games, 5 for 5 with 5 home runs, great. I'm not taking anything into consideration of that, because this is spring training. You're working on things, especially the first 2 weeks, 3 weeks. You're just working on getting certain aspects of your game ready, and then you're turning it on the last week and a half from there to get ready to be in shape or get to be ready to face competition in the regular season. So I don't hold stock in what happens right now, but my goodness, this is the greatest time of the year, where springtime is here. The ballpark is being filled and baseball is back. So I take that into my consideration of what this means.
JG, always a pleasure having you on here, sir. We'll see you tomorrow. All right.
Appreciate you, JG.
As always, guys. Thanks.
Mo, this next segment is sponsored by Sports Empire Network. If you don't know what's happening over at the Empire, make sure you head over there and check it out. Mo, I want to talk a little NBA basketball with you. So last week, the suspension came down for our friend Isaiah Stewart. You might recall Isaiah decided he wanted to wait in the parking lot and, throw hands with another player. We speculated about a week and a half ago what that suspension might look like. Well, it's 3 games. So 3 games for him, essentially. I'm not going to say he jumped a guy, but he definitely waited for a guy to show up so he could get into a fight with him.
Right. It's premeditated.
Right. I thought it was a little light. I thought it was a little light for a guy who came to work, who came to the arena and decided that he was going to get into a physical altercation with somebody from the other team once he also showed up to work at the arena.
Correct.
I thought it should have been 5 or 10, just to kind of set the tone of you're not going to show up to NBA functions knowing you want to get into a fight with somebody. But NBA went 3, so I don't know. I just thought it should have been a few more.
Well, the bar is set now. Now, if you got a beef with somebody, you can wait outside for them or wherever. And
3 games. It'll just be 3.
And you're only getting 3 games. Never mind that if the fight gets to the point where someone's injured and they miss time. I mean, I'm just saying, look, I just thought, and I think Adam Silver is a good commissioner. I don't think he's a great commissioner, because I think he's candored a little too much to the players. You can't go around beating people up, and you plan to beat somebody up, and all you get is 3 games. At least you get 10 games. You have to send a strong message. We're not going to beat people up outside of arenas. I mean, I can't make it any simpler than that. And not one of these things where you just happen to run into each other. You waited for them. So when the rest of your team was going in like, hey, we got to get out there, get ready for warm-ups, you're like, nah.
I'll be right there.
I'll be there in a minute. I got to do something. Come on, Silver. Come on.
Mo, I thought of the scene from D2, The Mighty Ducks, where at the end of the movie, the Bash Brothers go out there specifically just to cause havoc, and they get thrown in the box for 5 minutes, and like 5 minutes well earned. Is that not what Isaiah's doing? 3 games well earned. I'll take that 3 anytime, Mo.
100%. He's on the team flight home, and he's like, worth it.
In other NBA news, hey, we got the Wizards. They decided to bench Jordan Poole. He actually came off the bench last night, had himself a pretty productive game. Mo, this can go one of 2 ways. Is this Jordan Poole's new role with the team? Is he going to be Klay Thompson coming off the bench, even though he's like 10 years younger than Klay Thompson? Or is this kind of the beginning of the end of his tenure in Washington, and they're going to do this for now, and then maybe, at this time next season, Jordan Poole is no longer with the team? What do you see the move to the bench, at least for right now, saying for Jordan Poole's future with the Wizards?
And look, maybe to me, this might be what they should have done all along. This was the role that he had with Golden State. He was instant offense off the bench, playing against second unit guys, and he was more comfortable that way. And then sometimes he would be in the closing lineup. So I think going forward, look, this is how you get the most value out of him, the most production out of him. I think they still want to commit to him as being part of their team. I think what they have learned is Jordan Poole is not the kind of player you can build around. He can be part of a rebuild, but he can't be your centerpiece. So I like Jordan Poole coming off the bench as instant offense.
And to Gene's point, we play in Washington, baby. Let's market this. Let's have like signage and graphics. When Poole comes in off the bench, I want pool party graphics. I want floaties in the stands.
Oh, I love it.
I want to hype it up. We're gonna brand the entire Poole coming off the bench as an event. Like, isn't that what Jordan needs? He needs to feel special, right?
I think he does. I think I kind of like that, right? Pump him up a little bit. Like you said, maybe name the bench the pool party, right?
Exactly. I'm all for it.
I love it. Look, it's Washington. Have some fun. It's not like you're going to the postseason, but have a good time.
Mo, at the end of last week, Doc Rivers, he talks a lot. He does a lot of talking. I think he should talk less, but that's just me. But he was talking about how he had no intention of coaching this season. He wasn't going to coach. In fact, two teams reached out to him and, tried to get him to come coach for them. He passed up both of those opportunities. And then the Bucks reached out, and Mo, he just couldn't pass up the opportunity to coach the Milwaukee Bucks. And I look at those comments and I watch the video and I walk away from it, Mo, saying, why are you talking about this? Why are you talking about the other two teams who wanted you, but you said no to them? And then the Bucks came calling and you just couldn't pass it up. Even though a week ago, you made it sound like you should have passed it up for like another 2 weeks until we got through the All-Star break. Right. And then maybe you should have taken it. Mo, I don't know if he actually got offers from other teams, but clearly he wants to make himself look desired and wanted. And that was my takeaway from it. My takeaway was you only talk about how many people wanted you when you're trying to present yourself as somebody who was wanted. We didn't need that. That wasn't a tidbit that no one asked you. Hey, did other teams? No, that wasn't what was asked of you. You just offered that. Clearly, somebody wanted you. You're coaching right now. You were hired mid-season to coach a team. Clearly, Milwaukee wanted you. So you're wanted. Congratulations. But you telling us, well, 2 other teams called. I said no. Mo, what's the next question we're going to ask?
Are you going to be the coach next year? I don't know.
Who are they?
Right.
Like,
right.
When
What's
you say, I said no to 2 teams, at that point, all we care about is who you said no to. But you wouldn't say who they were. So now you're just pissing us off because we're like, well, who were they, Doc? Who did you say no to?
What's the tease, right? Let me guess. You were going to get ready to replace Darvin Ham, maybe the Lakers.
Right.
It's not impossible. I mean, they replaced the coach that was 30-13. It's not impossible. Yeah, that's the natural question, the follow-up question. Well, who were those teams, Doc? I mean, maybe he didn't want to mention it because maybe one of those teams was the Wizards. Like, you don't want to know that.
Maybe.
But
that's where we're gonna go. So if you're not gonna tell us who the teams were, then why are you even talking about it? Because at that point, the only takeaway is, oh, you were really, really sought after, weren't you, Doc? Wow, you're a popular fella.
He put it out there. I'm desired.
Let's talk a little. We just talked NBA. Let's talk a little NFL stuff. So, Mo, I have a question for you, and my question is wrapped in a question. All right, if you are a team in the NFL and you have any sort of questions at the quarterback position, could your answer and could the easiest answer just be Kirk Cousins?
Look, I think Kirk Cousins is a great solution to a lot of these teams that need quarterbacks. I love Kirk Cousins. I think he's one of those guys. Look, every guy can't have the Tom Brady, the Patrick Mahomes, even to a lesser degree, the Troy Aikman career where you win multiple championships, right? I don't think that means that you're not talented or a gifted player. So I think Kirk Cousins would solve a lot of problems. Would Kirk Cousins not fit well in Pitt? I think you can plug Kirk Cousins into any system. Like if you said, the thing where we're talking about available quarterbacks right now today, you would go and you do that Kirk Cousins or. I think if you talk about of all the available quarterbacks, if your team is built in a position to win now and your only true question is that quarterback, I'm taking Kirk Cousins over the rest of them. Now, if you're trying to build for the future, you might want to look at Justin Fields, but I'm taking Kirk Cousins over Russell Wilson. I'm taking Kirk Cousins over pretty much any other veteran quarterback that's available because I think he's the right answer.
If you're looking at, and I have the draft order in front of me here, obviously, if you're in the Caleb Williams sweepstakes, Caleb Williams is going to be the quarterback prize, right? So I don't think either of us are suggesting you're going to take Kirk Cousins over Caleb Williams.
We're not.
At any stretch of the imagination. Don't say we said that. We didn't say that. If you are not in the Caleb Williams sweepstakes, which means if you are not the Chicago Bears or the Washington Commanders or the New England Patriots, who I think are all realistically in the Caleb Williams sweepstakes. Obviously, Chicago is there if they want to be. Let's step outside of that. The New York Giants, the Tennessee Titans, the Atlanta Falcons, the Minnesota Vikings, the Denver Broncos, the Las Vegas Raiders, hell, even the New Orleans Saints. I would throw Seattle in there, even though they're going to keep Geno because they just paid him. Would all of those teams not be better automatically if they brought in Kirk Cousins?
No question. He is better than their current starter. He upgrades their quarterback room, including New Orleans, where I know a lot of people love Carr. Now, I'm not the biggest Carr fan. I just don't get it, but I'm not going to harp on that. Look, I would take Kirk Cousins in a minute for all those teams you named. Now, granted, we already put out there, if it happens and Atlanta goes after Justin Fields, that totally makes sense. But if they don't get Justin Fields, why would you not go after Kirk Cousins with all that talent that you have on the outside? Like they're set at the skill positions. What they need is a quarterback to maximize that talent. Kirk Cousins would be the answer if you're not going to pursue Justin Fields.
So we talked about, we mentioned Caleb Williams, and we talked about how, he would obviously be the prize of the NFL offseason, whether he is drafted by the Bears with the number 1 pick or whether the Bears trade that pick somewhere else. Caleb Williams made the news over the weekend because he has come out, Mo, and said he is not going to have an agent. He is going to navigate the NFL waters on his own. He doesn't feel that he needs somebody representing him. I think the quote referred to the fact that he feels that he can best represent himself and what he wants, and he knows what he wants and where he's going. And I have no issue with self-advocating, right, Mo? I mean, I'm a big believer. Who is going to advocate more for you than you, right? Obviously, there's different situations and there's always an exception to the rule. But in life, if you are not willing to put yourself in front of everybody else and beat your own drum, most likely somebody is not going to do it for you. So I'm all for that. That being said, look at the Lamar Jackson situation, because we've kind of already seen this, have we not? Sure, Lamar has an agent. It's his mom. No disrespect to Mrs. Jackson. I'm sure she is an incredible woman. I'm sure she is a wonderful mother. But let's be honest, she is not an experienced NFL agent. NFL agents, I believe for the most part, are all lawyers. They all have some sort of law affiliation or law degree. Most of them went to law school, because a lot of being an agent is law. It's contract law. It's negotiations. It's very much in the wheelhouse of that lawyer area. Now, obviously, that is not the rule. There are agents out there who are not lawyers, but I'm telling you, Mo, that's the level you're at, right? So if you're sitting here today and you're listening to us and you're like, I want to be a sports agent, great. Do you want to put in the work that a lawyer would have to put in? Because if the answer is no, you probably shouldn't be a sports agent,
Correct.
right? Because that's the level of workload that goes into that job, into that business, into making that a success. We saw the trouble Lamar had when he didn't have somebody who was experienced in that realm representing him. It almost, for a while, looked like he wasn't going to be back in Baltimore, because it just wasn't going the way it should have been going, because the team was basically speaking directly to him. Sure, they were talking to his mom because she was the agent, but they were basically speaking directly to him. And let's be honest, even though I want you to advocate for yourself, who's going to be the most emotional person when advocating for you? You are. So you need a buffer there, right, Mo? You need a buffer to be in there.
Correct.
And be like, listen, Mo, go sit down. I got you. I know what you want. Trust me to get what you want. I'm going to go get it. I'll come talk to you in a minute. You yell at me. You don't yell at the team. We don't want you getting emotional with them. We don't need anyone's feelings getting hurt. Let me get yelled at by everyone, and I'll get everyone the best deal. That's what it is. That's what negotiating is. That's what being the middleman is. And that's what an agent is. Now, yes, agents get paid too. And they're not doing it for free, but it's a buffer. I have an issue with this, Mo. As a rookie quarterback coming into the league with the baggage that's already coming with you. And the baggage I'm talking about is your father coming out and saying there's certain teams you don't want to play for. People in your camp are coming out and saying, well, maybe I'll go back and play another year in college if I don't like any of the teams that have the first couple of picks in the draft. Now we're talking about how you don't have an agent. Now we're talking about how, you know, you're not going to do this or that during the offseason leading up to the draft because you feel like you don't need to because your stock is already where it's at. These are all little things, right, Mo? These are all little things where a team could look at it and be like, ooh, red flag. But if you have an agent who's spinning things for you, which is what agents do,
Correct.
They're like, oh, no, that's a green flag. Let me tell you
Right.
why that's a green flag, right? They're representing you. They're putting the spin on it. They're doing the work for you while you just go and live your life. He's not going to have one of those. So if you already have perceived red flags as you're about to make your transition from college to the pros, and you're building up and you're going through the draft process, which, Mo, let's be honest, we've seen athletes rise during the draft process leading up to the draft, and we've seen athletes tumble during the process because of missteps and miscues, and this pops up and they said that quote and they're like, ooh, why did he say that? That's a character issue. I don't know if we can go that way now. We had a couple of years ago with the tackle who's in Houston now, but Miami drafted him with the gas mask situation. That video pops up like 3 days before the draft, and he falls into Miami's lap because everyone's like, they're not taking him. That's the stuff that, you know, not every agent can avoid it, but that's what your agent's there for, Mo. And then obviously the money and the contract talk. him not having an agent to me is just another red flag. It's another red flag on this journey of the last few months where you just kind of see these red flags popping up. Oh, and by the way, Mo, not to mention in the background, you have people who evaluate college quarterbacks saying he might be a little overhyped. He might not quite be the prospect everyone's thinking he's going to be. He's not going to suck, but he might not be the next coming of Patrick Mahomes, which is what we were talking about coming into this past college football season, that Caleb Williams, slam dunk #1 pick, easily a Pro Bowl quarterback, easily the best quarterback coming out of the draft since Andrew Luck. Those are all things that were being said coming into this past college football season. Now you fast forward a season as we prepare for the draft, and things have warmed a little bit. We're a little lukewarm on the Caleb Williams situation right now. And it just concerns me, Mo, that he doesn't have somebody out there kind of moving the ball on his behalf. And let's be honest, I don't think he's going to do it. Like, I don't think he's magically going to become motivated to be his best PR person. I think he's just going to keep living his life like most athletes do, which is why they have agents, and they just do their thing, and they pay people around them to make them look good. That's kind of how this game works. I haven't seen him do anything the last couple of weeks where I'm like, oh, he's in agent mode. No, he's just kind of being himself with no agent. I don't know.
And I think you need an advocate. I think you need someone to speak up for you to polish those rough edges like that you brought up. My concern is not that there are red flags, but my concern is I'm looking at it from the outside, and he comes off arrogant to me, a little arrogant. And look, I know we like our athletes confident, we do, but there's confidence and there's arrogance, and he has an arrogance about him, and he hasn't done anything yet. He's just coming into the league, and this might be one of those. This is a learning a lesson for him that somewhere down the line he's going to learn the hard way. Early in your career, you should have gotten an advocate. You should have gotten an agent, someone to look out for you, someone to, like you said, buffer those red flags into green flags and tamp things down, because you only have one first impression, right? And maybe the Bears fans are in love with you already. Maybe they're not. Maybe they're convinced Fields is the guy. So if you come in there arrogant and they get rid of Fields, there's going to be like pressure on top of pressure, right? Because they're going to judge you off of this guy's supposed to be so much better than Fields, and he sucks if he does, right? Like they can turn that quick. A fan base can turn on you that quick. And like you said, the truth is we didn't know. I know I didn't. Patrick Mahomes was going to be Patrick Mahomes. I know I didn't. And I know a lot of these TV analysts didn't, because I went back and looked at the tapes and some of the things that they said, and they were not kind things that they said about Patrick Mahomes. And so when you get these guys that they say he's a sure thing, he is the next phenom, that's a lot to live up to. And if you go through the history of the NFL, most of those next phenoms, they're not phenoms. Most of them are not phenoms. I can go all the way back, and you might not remember this name. You're younger. Remember Todd Marinovich?
Oh, yes, I do.
You remember that? That's robo quarterback. He was prototype. He was raised as a child. I mean, the dad, they were talking about him like he was a $6 million man, and what happened to him? Remember Ryan Leaf? What happened to him? It doesn't always come out that way. And I want the best for him, because as a fan of the NFL, I want those next wave of stars to step in, because we have some of our older stars getting ready to move on in a couple of years or so. So it does matter, the transition in football. But I don't know how good he's going to be. I know what some people say. Although on the flip side, if you listen to what a guy like Merle Hodge says about him, he's basically saying he's going to be a bust.
I know.
I have no idea where to go with this. Well, all I can say is I'm with you. I think that coming in the early part of your career, having an agent can take a lot of pressure off you and your family, because what happens is when you negotiate, or you think you're negotiating, and it's you, it becomes personal. if the team doesn't offer you what you want, if they don't capitulate to the things that you request, you feel like they're lowballing you or disrespecting you. You make it personal, and an agent would buffer that out and clean that up and go, well, no, what he meant to say is he would like this or he would like that. And I think that matters. That the agent has a role, and I think he's making a mistake going forward, trying to advocate for himself.
Mo, you mentioned he needs an advocate. I know. Listen, Roman Reigns isn't on TV that much. I'm sure Paul Heyman's available. I'm just saying,
I love it.
If you roll in with Paul Heyman, I'm just saying things are going to start moving for you. Caleb, I don't know if you know Paul, but Paulie will get you to the promised land.
He is the greatest mouthpiece ever.
Also in the NFL, we have quarterbacks who are coming out and saying all the right things. They want to stay with their current team. Justin Fields has come out at the end of last week and said he wants to stay. Russell Wilson came out over the weekend and said that he wants to stay in Denver. Interestingly enough, Sean Payton did some press at the end of last week, and he also said that Russell Wilson staying in Denver is still on the table. Obviously, Sean's not going to come out and say, we don't like him, we're getting rid of him, I hate him, even though that's clearly how you feel. And obviously, Russ is never going to say a bad thing. But I'm curious, Mo, because, again, this is all really dependent on how things shake out, right? If they're interested in Kirk Cousins, does he want to come there? How does the draft board shake out? Is it a situation where we get one of the top 2 or 3 quarterbacks, or do we end up with like the 4th or 5th best quarterback in the draft? Call me crazy, but I can see a road where Russell Wilson is the quarterback in Denver next season. And that road is they just didn't get anything better. Because if you end up with the 4th or 5th best quarterback in the draft, you might want him to sit for a year. If Kirk Cousins goes somewhere else and he doesn't come to you, and you're not interested in Justin Fields, or you don't have the ability to trade for Justin Fields, well, now the free agent options are gone. So I don't know. Like, I know why they're saying what they're saying. Russ is never going to speak negatively about Denver. That's just not who he is. He's protecting his brand. Peyton has been a villain so much at the end of the season in Denver. He cannot be a villain anymore. So, of course, he's just going to say, yeah, Russ is still in the plans, when maybe they already know the day they're cutting Russ. But at the same time, I would have to think, and the Denver organization has proven that they're intelligent, I think they're going to hang on to Russ for a little bit just to see how it shakes out. And if it ends up being a situation where they didn't get the top quarterback, they might keep him for one more year and and obviously if he plays poorly, bench him. But I can see a logical situation where Russ stays for another year.
So we've been talking throughout that Russ could potentially be a bridge quarterback for several teams. What you're saying is he might just be a bridge quarterback for his current team.
Correct.
And I don't think that's off the table either. And Sean Payton, you're right. He's been kind of the villain most of the season, rightfully so. But he's smart enough to know that I can't hammer this guy and destroy him and say we don't want him just in case we keep him, right? So I do understand that point of view. I think Russ still has value as a quarterback. I found it interesting that a lot of analysts were like, I can see it where Russell Wilson doesn't play at all or ever play
Yeah.
or ever play again. And I'm like, look, I am not a professional analyst, but I do have common sense.
Or backs up Aaron Rodgers for $1 million.
Right, or backs up Aaron. I do have common sense. Look, if you want to make the case that if the Broncos let him go, that he may have to go somewhere and earn a spot, or not earn a spot, but maybe be the backup and then fight to get this started. That's plausible. I can listen to that. But if you're going to tell me that Russell Wilson, if he's not the quarterback of the Broncos, he's done completely, I completely disagree with that.
This was interesting. Tyreek Hill, star wide receiver for the Miami Dolphins, he wants to be a boxer when his NFL career is over, Mo. And he was talking about that on a podcast recently. And he called out the person he wants to fight first in his boxing career. He wants a piece of Jake Paul. Jake Paul, who is 8-1 in the boxing game. 5 of those wins have come via knockout. His only loss was in a split decision. He said on the podcast, Jake Paul doesn't look that tough. When I grew up boxing as a kid and as a teenager. I've been boxing all my life. I know how to box. He doesn't look that tough. For my first fight, I want some Jake Paul. Mo, if you got to put money on it, Tyreek versus Jake Paul, where's your money going?
I don't think Tyreek should do that fight. I don't think he's doing it. Look, you may have been growing up boxing, and you can tell me that he doesn't look tough, but a lot of guys have said what you said, stepped in there and kind of got obliterated. If I was Tyreek, chill on. Look, if you want to box, I get it, but that shouldn't be your first fight.
That's what he wants, Mo. He doesn't look that tough.
I get it. I understand, but look, I'll say this: I don't think Jake Paul's ever going to be a world champion. I don't, but I don't think he's. I don't think he's. I don't know. I don't think he's just a punching bag. I think the guy can fight, and I think Tyreek Hill, like most people, are looking at him and underestimating him. And I think if Tyreek went in there and that was his first fight, Tyreek Hill would get wrecked.
It's funny because obviously the Paul brothers, and a lot of it is their own doing, right? A lot of the hate and the negativity that they bring to themselves, they're bringing it because of their own actions. But I think the issue with people who are into wrestling or into boxing or just into pop culture in general, they can't get past some of the immature choices or some of the irresponsible choices or some of the just flat out poor choices that Jake and Logan have made in their careers to give them credit for their success stories. I mean, you're looking at two brothers who have built up a very successful entertainment empire. You're looking at two brothers who, I mean, Logan Paul with Prime, look at what that beverage is doing in the beverage market, which if you watch Shark Tank, I think one of Mr. Wonderful's favorite lines is that that's a very hard market to break into. You're just a cockroach in that space. And he went into that space on his own and blew it up. And look at what they're doing in the world of sports. Jake Paul is 8-1. His only loss is a split decision. Look at what Logan Paul is doing in both worlds. He also boxes, and he's also in professional wrestling, and he's finding success in wrestling. He has had some success in boxing as well. Give him credit where credit is due. And I like Tyreek Hill. But for you to sit here, and I'm sure he has whatever image he has of Jake Paul, and for you to be like, yeah, he's 8-1, but I boxed as a teen. I boxed as a young adult. We were boxing all the time in the backyard, at a friend's house, in the alley, at the local community center, wherever the heck it was you were boxing. To think you can just get in there with Jake Paul because he doesn't look that tough,
right?
And you're going to win that. It's a little much for me, Tyreek. I respect you. I love the confidence, but I don't think Jake Paul should be the one you're going after.
How about this, Tyreek? How about you fight one of the other fighters that he's already fought? Like fight some of the guys that he's fought and see how that works out for you. And then before you jump in and try to want to fight him, see how you do against the competition that he's faced, and then we'll see how it goes.
And if you're knocking them out the same way he was, different conversation. Maybe you really are a great boxer and nobody knew.
Right.
But I wouldn't start with someone that's had some moderate success in that world and think that's a good place to start off the bat. But Mo, that brings us to the end here. Before you close us out, just a quick little tidbit. The Cincinnati Bengals have officially tagged T. Higgins. Joe Burrow said, "You are not breaking up my receivers. I need all my weapons when 100%. I'm healthy." So good for the Bengals. Mo, good show here on a Monday. Close us out, sir.
Thank you, everybody in the chat. Thank you, everybody that tuned in for Chris and us live. Check out all the great content that we have for you at the Wire to Wire Network. Give us a listen, a like, a sub, and a follow. We appreciate you. Wire to Wire Network.
Hey, if you don't do so already, make sure you are following us on TikTok. We just hit 1,000 followers yesterday. It's amazing that 1,000 of you like to see what we have to say over there. So please, if you don't do that, head over there and do that today. We appreciate it. And make sure you're here with us tomorrow morning. We're going to be here same time, same place, getting you through your Tuesday morning. JG is going to be back with some more baseball stuff. We got some other NBA and NFL stuff to break down. All of that and more tomorrow. Coffee and Sports. It's the morning show powered by Wire to Wire Network, and we will see you